Now, taking effect today, May 1st, 2026, is China's decision to grant zero tariff access on 100% of product categories to 53 African countries, which has been described as a major turning point in Africa-China trade relations. The policy expands beyond least developed countries to include nearly the entire continent, opening up a market of over 1.4 billion consumers to African goods without import duties. Now, as global trade tensions rise and traditional markets tighten, could this be Africa's moment to redefine its position in global trade, or will structural challenges limit the gains? Joining us from Shanghai, China, is Okpoza Jeffrey Owigho, a Nigerian diaspora leader and advocate for economic diplomacy, known for strengthening Nigeria's global partnerships, especially with Asia. As emeritus president of NIDO China, he played a key role in advancing diaspora coordination, institutional collaboration, and investment ties between Nigeria and China. And also Collins Ezeiruaku, Trade Ambassador, International Trade Facilitation Association. Gentlemen, you're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Great. Mr. Owigho, this policy takes effect today, May 1st. For Nigerians who are hearing about it for the first time, what changes from today in terms of Africa-China trade relations?
Today is going to be the commencement of the Nigeria, Africa-China 100% tariff free trade, or in a number of goods. What this actually means is that now many African countries will be able to export their commodities, agricultural products, and other commodities to China tariff-free. This has been building up. It is a stage starting from the FOCAC summit that was attended by the Nigerian president as well with other presidents from Africa in 2025. So this coming up, this 100% tariff-free trade is not actually surprising news because it has been building up. So this starting 1st of May, it's going to actually be able to change the dynamics in the balance of trade between China and Africa. So Africa has been consistently running a trade deficit with China. So there are going to be a lot of benefits in terms of capacity development, in terms of development in industrialization of Africans' productivity as well too. Yes.
Do you what do you think is China's real strategic interest behind extending these benefits to nearly all African countries?
It's the question to me.
What do you think is China's real strategic interest in extending these benefits to all African countries?
Oh, actually, it is of great benefit to China as well too. When China also knows it is in China's interest for Africa to actually develop, a lot of imports has been coming from a lot of low import manufacturing has been coming from Africa. And China will also like to see Africa grow in terms of gross national product. China will equally like to see Africa develop in terms of its capacity to continue to be a partner as a trade partnering continent as well too, as well as China has also invested a lot in infrastructure. So it's like a prelude to actually utilizing this capacity that has actually been instituted in Africa, unlike other free trade pacts that was actually signed with Africa, like the American free trade. When these was instituted or enacted, there were less railways, there were less roads and all that kind of thing. There were a lot of bottleneck, unlike what China has actually announced. A lot of infrastructure has actually are currently in place in Nigeria. We have railways across East Africa, West Africa, and talking about Nigeria, we have more railways right now that actually comes from the north down to the south and down to the west as well too. So it is a great time that this policy is actually coming into effect, as we can actually utilize it in improving capacity and embracing this new policy.
Right. Let's come back to the studio now. Mr. Collins, this policy takes effect today, May 1st. Now, for a Nigerian who is perhaps hearing this for the first time, what changes, in terms of Africa-China trade relations? What changes from today?
I'd like to approach it from the perspective of nothing will change if action is not taken. There are a lot of agreements that Nigeria has with quite a number of countries, and if it's not domesticated, if awareness is not created, if the support for the infrastructure that is required for the business people to implement is not there, then it will still be something that is either lopsided or it's not going to have effect. For instance, we have the let's not even talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that is in effect right now. Let's talk about the ECOWAS bloc and the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme. How many Nigerians are aware of it and how many have taken advantage of it? So not much will change, in my opinion, if we do not intentionally begin to invest in letting Nigerians know that, yes, this is available. Secondly, how can you participate in it? What are the advantages for you? So yes, you can move commodities, you can move raw materials, but it's also an opportunity to move finished goods. So our textiles, our fashion can begin to move. We can have other things begin to move towards China, which is a huge market, the same way the rest of the world is looking at Nigeria as a huge market. So it has to be intentional. It has to be direct interventions to ensure that all hands are on deck to take advantage of this very, very significant opportunity.
Do you see this as a genuine opportunity for Africa to industrialize or just expand export volumes?
I would say this, there's no business person that does not go into business without looking for something for themselves. So business is not a charity. So China coming in to say, okay, we will liberalize, we'll do this across 53, save for one, for whatever reason, they're also looking at their economy. They're looking at the benefits to them, and it's a strategic move. So I wouldn't say they're coming at it from a charity perspective, especially in this time where social impact investments are growing. People want to see other people grow because we know that as you grow, we grow. As you make progress, we make progress. It doesn't make sense for progress to be one-sided or lopsided. So with that, I'll say yes, they have their intentions, they have their plans. It is very clear it is a strategic move to enhance their economy, to enhance their people. Nonetheless, it provides an opportunity for us to enhance our economy, enhance our people. Question is, who is going to make a move? Will we sit down and watch China as they, position their people, support their people to make the most of this policy and say, oh, China is cheating us? Or are we going to start looking at where are the gaps? Where are the infrastructure gaps? Where do our people need support? Where are the agencies that need to drive, the implementation and, let's say, the Nigerians taking advantage of or positioning to take the most or make the most of this policy? So I wouldn't say China is doing it as charity or China has this intention or that intention. Everyone is there to benefit. But we too also have to come to the table aware that there is a benefit, position ourselves, and take advantage of it. Otherwise, like AGOA, Ghana was making the most of the Africa Growth Opportunities Act that was with the US. We didn't do much with it, right? Not that we didn't do anything, but not much. Let this not be one of those kinds of schemes that come to the continent that is an opportunity for us to grow, and then we're just saying somebody wants to do this and somebody wants to do that, and we're doing nothing about it.
Great. Let's go over to Shanghai now. Mr. Jeffrey, the policy specifically encourages processed and manufactured goods, not just raw materials. Now, Nigeria has been talking about value addition for years. Does a policy like this create real pressure to finally act on it?
Thank you very much. This actually is going to actually expose Nigeria's deficiency in capacity. It's going to expose Nigeria to a lot of policy that are yet to be in place. Also, there are still terms and policies uh, we still need to actually be able to engage the Chinese about how this is going to be applied. You need to understand the market in China, first of all. Africans do not expect to just couple anything, put into a container and actually ship it over to China. There are also restrictions. There are quotas in certain kind of commodities. Africa needs to have an understanding with China to know, okay, what are these quotas? And it's not like because this policy is going into place, all Chinese companies are mandated to buy from Africa. They are still going to be looking at price comparison. And when you are looking at Southeast Asian countries, they do have these advantages in terms of logistics, lower logistics costs, and based on mileage and all that. So there are a lot of things that still needs to be considered. Just because the policy is coming into effect doesn't mean they are mandated to import everything from Nigeria. It doesn't matter if it's palm oil, palm products, or agro or processing goods and all that. So in a nutshell, even if Nigeria actually has to approach this policy, it has to be we have to mobilize an institutional support towards this policy. Just like my counterpart has just said, there has to be awareness. There has to be the policy support from customs. There has to be that kind of subsidy that actually backs this kind of sector, backs the participants. There has to be the training. There has to be pre-approved quotas. If all these are not in place, what is later going to happen will actually be we now seeing Chinese companies actually coming into Nigeria, which is not a bad thing, which will equally improve our, what you call it, capital investments. It will also be able to improve other kind of manufacturing capacity. However, it will now be the Chinese that will still take advantage of this opportunity. And they actually come into Nigeria, setting up, having fixed investments, and then being the same ones to actually do the EVA on all these
All right,
commodities and then
Mr.
taking
Jeffrey,
advantage.
how about the MSMEs? How can they realistically tap into such a large and competitive Chinese market? Very briefly.
I, in my opinion, it will be nice if we go in most of these exporters. They it will be nice if they go into partnership with existing exporters, as well as also having mergers with other exporters from other regional African countries who are doing well. Ghana may not have the capacity, but they do have a comparative advantage in terms of productivity. So we may add, looking at the African Free Trade Agreement, it's still something that's going to complement this particular policy. It's not like the China policy stands out on its own. So there's still going to be inter-African trade as well for Africans to be able to actually take the full advantage of this policy. So there has to be measures, there has to be policies where what you call it, domiciled companies are able to partner probably with Chinese companies and be able to take advantage of such exports, because many of our exporters actually lack this kind of expertise to be able to utilize this policy. But this is still a good policy because we have a lot of ships, vessels coming in from China and also leaving empty. So this is a policy. No matter how you look at it, there is definitely going to be an improvement in the balance of trade between China and Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. Let's come back to the studio. Mr. Collins, how can MSMEs realistically tap into such a large and competitive Chinese market?
Okay, my counterpart Jeff has said quite a lot of things. So I think one is awareness. MSMEs need to begin to find out what is there. I mean, good thing is that the internet is down. Like many years ago, you couldn't find information. You can go to the internet and find out what do the Chinese look for? What are they looking out for? So you do your primary research, your secondary research rather. Very, very important. What do they want? How do they want it packaged? There are standards that they need to meet, so you know exactly what it is that you're going to be pushing. Secondly is comparative advantage through collaboration. So where do we have comparative advantage? We may not compete in coffee at this time, but we may be able to compete in sesame. So are there collaborations that have been done? SMEs can work together to meet the standards, the volume, that's with regards to this. And the final note will also be openness. So being open to work not just within Nigeria, work with other countries, as well as being open to work with the Chinese themselves to have joint collaborations, where you provide a measure of ground, you kind of level the ground and allow them to invest, and you co-own the process. So that is an opportunity that I think SMEs can take advantage of. So local production can occur here in conjunction with Chinese partners, and that can be exported as well. These are some of the low-hanging fruit that we have for MSMEs, but we will not preclude the fact that we still need institutional backing. So for instance, the NEPC has their strategic thrust. They have crops that they're looking at. They have commodities they're looking at. They have other things they're looking at. The NIPC also has what they're looking at. So we look at where we have comparative advantage. And instead of trying to compete with other countries, we now drive where we have comparative advantage and where the need is in China, and move on from there. It opens us up to many more.
So what should African governments do immediately to take advantage of this?
Where do we have comparative advantage? We already have AFTA. So the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement means that we can collaborate as Africans. The thing now is, okay, if you're doing coffee, why don't I do sesame? So that within us, we have a system that allows us to grow within where we have best comparative advantage, and we can develop that. So there's no much competition. It doesn't mean that you cannot sell other items, but we can develop our quota systems to sell those items. So we're doing sesame, somebody else can do coffee. We're doing shea, somebody else can do tangerines or other fruit products. That is one of the ways within which we can collaborate. And there's already the Africa Continental Free Trade area that could enable us be midwife this advantage.
Indeed, we hope to see measurable changes when this policy succeeds. A very big thank you to you, Mr. Collins Ezeiruaku, and Mr. Jeffrey Okboza, who joined us all the way from Shanghai, China, for your time. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
We now move to talk